NLE Choppa, the so-called suburban goofy rapper, just dropped a full track aimed at the GOAT, NBA YoungBoy, and YB didn't waste time responding. What makes this even messier? Choppa used to be one of YB's biggest supporters. This isn't just a simple diss track. It's layered with shady energy, backdoor vibes, and a desperate attempt to stay relevant. But here's the kicker. Choppa might not realize how quickly this could backfire. In this game, all it takes is one call from NBA YoungBoy, and things could get seriously messy for him. Real consequences that go far beyond just internet clout. Here's what really twists the knife in this whole scenario. NLE Choppa didn't just casually like NBA YoungBoy, he used to straight up idolize him. No cap. Back in 2018 and 2019, Choppa was literally copying everything. Same dreads, same aggressive delivery, same Louisiana-infused energy. Even though he's from Memphis. In interviews from that era, he openly said YB was his favorite rapper and that he wanted a collab. Fam. He wasn't just a fan, he was practically a student of YoungBoy's craft. Early footage shows it all. The camera angles, the energy, the aesthetics. All lifted straight from YB's playbook. He even released a track called Free YB while YoungBoy was locked up in 2018, publicly showing support during legal troubles that most other artists avoided. People close to Choppa say he studied YB's interviews, practiced his gestures, and mimicked his slang and speech patterns. This wasn't casual admiration. It was an obsessive effort to become a mirror version of NBA YoungBoy. This context makes the recent beef way more personal. It's not just two artists clashing. It's a former fan, someone who once followed YoungBoy's every move, suddenly flipping the script. It's like watching your little brother, who used to trail you everywhere copying everything you did. That history of fandom-turned opponent adds layers to the tension that a normal diss track could never touch. Here's the wild part. Someone who once worshipped your every move suddenly flips and tries to come at you. That kind of betrayal cuts deeper than any ordinary beef, especially when it's someone you once would have had your back or even helped if they asked. This pattern isn't new in hip-hop. It happens more often than people realize. Psychologically, it's like they overcompensate to prove they're no longer riding for you, like they have to erase their old admiration by going extra hard in the opposite direction. It's a complete 180 to distance themselves from the fanboy image. That tension traces back to 2019 on Instagram Live. Choppa was chilling on a live stream when his crew in the background started calling YoungBoy fake, questioning his street credibility, and labeling him an industry plant. Choppa just sat there, smiling and laughing, doing nothing to check them or defend YB. Later, he tried to play it off, claiming he wasn't co-signing what his boys said and that he couldn't control them, but optics matter. When you run a platform and allow disrespect towards someone you publicly idolize, the blame lands squarely on you. Fans noticed immediately. Here's a guy who made a free YB song, modeled his entire style after YoungBoy, calling him his favorite rapper, now sitting silent while his crew disrespects him. YB's fans flooded Choppa's comments, labeling him fake, disloyal, and a snake. They demanded to know why he didn't defend YB if he was truly riding for him. But instead of addressing it or apologizing, Choppa stayed quiet, letting the tension simmer, silence that spoke louder than words. Then things escalated. Choppa started aligning himself with Fredo Bang, one of YB's main rivals from Baton Rouge. That move made the shift in loyalty clear and confirmed what many fans had suspected all along. Choppa's admiration had transformed into opposition, and the dynamics of fandom-turned feud were now fully in play. This wasn't just a diss track or casual rivalry. It was a deep-rooted betrayal layered with backdoor politics and street allegiances. This isn't just casual rap drama. Fam, this runs deep. Fredo Bang and NBA YoungBoy have been bitter rivals for years, rooted in serious street issues, from G-Money's death to territory and respect battles in Baton Rouge. This is long-standing, life-and-death level tension that's claimed multiple lives on both sides. So for NLE Choppa to start linking up with Fredo after that Instagram Live incident, that wasn't random. It was deliberate. This wasn't two artists from different cities just collabing. Choppa made a calculated decision to side with YB's enemy, fully aware of the message it would send to YoungBoy and his loyal fanbase. They didn't just take pics, they released a track together, Gangster Talk, loaded with subliminal shots aimed directly at YB. The lyrics referenced beefs and events any Baton Rouge scene follower would immediately recognize as targeting YoungBoy. At this point, Choppa could no longer claim he was innocent. He was actively positioning himself against YB, likely thinking it would boost his street cred or career. The disrespect escalated further when Choppa started dating YB's ex. I'm not naming her because that's not the point, but in street code and hip-hop culture, that's a major violation. This wasn't some distant, old story. It was recent, intentional, and flaunted publicly on social media, practically rubbing it in YB's face. For someone who once idolized YoungBoy, this move crossed a personal line. It wasn't just disrespect toward YB, it was disrespect toward his own past admiration and the image he'd cultivated as a fan. When King Von died in November 2020 and the Durk vs. YB tension was at its peak, Choppa made his allegiance crystal clear. Between collaborating with Fredo, taking shots in music, and publicly flaunting YB's ex, he wasn't just making a diss track. He was staking out his position against someone he used to worship, turning a fan-turn-foe situation into a full-blown vendetta. This wasn't a casual beef. It was strategic, personal, and calculated. No cap, Choppa made his allegiance loud and clear, siding publicly with Lil Durk and the F Crew. He was posting "Rest in Peace King Von," showing love to Durk in comments, interacting with F members online, basically planting himself firmly on YB's enemy's side during one of the tensest, deadliest chapters of that whole beef. This wasn't just rap politics. Lives were at stake, federal eyes were watching, and Choppa decided that was the moment to make his position known. To put it in perspective, the Durk vs. YB situation wasn't casual. It was dangerous, violent, and ongoing, with deaths, federal investigations, and serious charges involved. For Choppa to jump into that maelstrom by picking sides was reckless and naive. By then, it was clear to anyone paying attention, Choppa wasn't accidentally beefing with YoungBoy. He was making conscious moves that broadcasted ultimate disrespect, probably to curry favor with the industry faction opposing YB, or to prove to the streets he wasn't a fan anymore. That's when YoungBoy snapped. Dropping "I Know," he went full demon mode on Choppa, threatening him, his family, and making it obvious this wasn't just music drama anymore. The bars were vicious, personal, and direct, so sharp that even hardcore fans were like, damn, he really means this. YB wasn't subtle or leaving room for interpretation. He addressed Choppa head-on, his anger fueled by real-life betrayal. From YB's perspective, it was more than just an op issue. Here was someone who used to idolize him, who he might have respected and collaborated with, now siding with enemies, making music with them, flaunting his ex, and aligning with people actively plotting against him. That level of backstabbing cuts deeper than ordinary rap beef. No cap, this was personal, and YB's reaction made it crystal clear. When your enemies come for you, that's expected, it's part of the game. But when someone who once claimed a ride for you flips the script, that cuts deeper. You could hear that raw sense of betrayal in the intensity of YB's KO diss back in the day. Fast forward to 2025, and we're staring down a new chapter in the KO saga. NLE Choppa drops a diss at YoungBoy, but it's not what people were expecting. Instead of traditional street threats or flexing on money and toughness, Choppa flips the narrative with a conscious rapper angle. To understand why this landed differently, you've got to know where Choppa's head's been since 2020 to 2021. He went through a full spiritual rebrand, trading violent lyrics and gang references for meditation, veganism, positive energy, spiritual awakening, and even healing crystals. He repositioned himself from an aggressive street rapper into this woke, enlightened persona, changing his sound, his message, and his image entirely. So when word broke that he was throwing a diss at YB, fans weren't sure what to expect, and Choppa leaned into that ambiguity. The track wasn't about who's tougher or who's stacking more money. Instead, Choppa painted YB as inauthentic, claiming he's trapped in a persona, performing violence and street credibility for the music, rather than being genuinely who he is. That's one of the deepest cuts you can land in hip-hop, attacking the core of someone's artistry and their credibility as a real one in the game. And the irony? Choa is literally the one who once mimicked YB's style, dreads, delivery, and energy, trying to be the next version of him. Now he's calling YB fake. That's projection on another level. Choa went further, framing himself as the enlightened critic, claiming YoungBoy adds nothing positive to hip-hop and is a bad influence on the youth. He positioned himself as morally and spiritually elevated, while questioning YB's authenticity and contribution to the culture. It wasn't just a diss. It was an existential attack on the foundation of YoungBoy's identity in the rap world. Choa went all in, claiming that YB's music is steering kids straight into violence, crime, and self-destruction. He framed himself as the voice of guidance, trying to uplift the youth, while casting YoungBoy as a toxic influence, corrupting young black lives through his art. According to Choa, YB's tracks are the reason kids are dying young, ending up in prison, or caught in cycles of street chaos. That's a heavy accusation, no cap. What makes this so intense is that Choa is essentially holding YB personally accountable for systemic issues, deep-rooted social and economic problems, and putting the weight of entire communities' trauma on one man's music. It's more than a diss track. It's trying to assign responsibility for real-world violence to an artist. But the hypocrisy hits hard. Choa himself was rapping about the exact same street and gang content just a few years back. Tracks like Shaw Flow and Camelot were packed with gun references, murder talk, and gang affiliations, the very same themes he now condemns in YB's music. He went on to directly accuse YB of glorifying a lifestyle that, in his view, ends with young men behind bars or in graves, claiming that every tragedy tied to listeners acting out is YB's fault. The flaw in this argument? It ignores the nuance of YoungBoy's music and what it truly means to his fans. His songs aren't blueprints for crime. They're reflections of struggle, survival, and reality in the streets. But Choa framed it as literal blood on YB's hands, which is both a bold and controversial narrative. For countless young people, particularly black youth growing up in neighborhoods like YB's, his music doesn't push them toward violence. It mirrors the harsh realities they already face, giving voice to the pain and chaos around them. Choa, however, flipped that narrative, suggesting that YoungBoy isn't truly living the life he raps about, that he relies on others to handle the dangerous side while he stays above the mess, collecting checks from a safe distance. That claim is especially eyebrow-raising considering YB's track record. He's been in shootouts, survived gunfire, lost close friends and family to street violence, and navigated the legal system multiple times. His street credibility isn't a story, it's documented and widely recognized. Yet Choa painted him as emotional, reactive, and hot-headed, implying that YB makes decisions driven by feelings rather than strategy. In hip-hop and street culture, calling someone emotional is basically questioning their control, their discipline, and their ability to think before acting. The KO video is where Choa leaned fully into his conscious warrior persona. Every detail screamed symbolism. A YB doppelganger, matching dreads, style, and vibe, served as the centerpiece. The most striking moment? Choa dramatically snatching a cigarette from the fake YB in slow motion, a visual metaphor for trying to pull him away from self-destructive behavior and guide him toward a better path. Throughout the video, the imagery reinforced his message: light versus darkness, enlightenment versus ignorance. Choa positioned himself in bright, elevated spaces, while the YB's stand-in lingered in shadows, a cinematic attempt to depict consciousness confronting self-destruction. Every frame was designed to signal a moral lesson, casting Choa as the guide and YoungBoy as the lost figure he was trying to awaken. Choa positioned himself as this spiritual guide, meditating, reading, projecting calm, while the YB doppelganger was engulfed in chaos. The video screamed, "I'm trying to save a lost soul," rather than, "I'm coming for you." The whole aesthetic leaned into enlightenment and guidance instead of aggression. He wanted to show he's about awakening, not violence. But here's the thing nobody's talking about: the hypocrisy in all of this. Choa has spent years preaching positivity, mindfulness, meditation, veganism, and the idea that negativity and violence are low vibrations we need to rise above. Yet he drops a diss track targeting someone he once admired. How does that line up with all the spiritual and conscious messaging he's been pushing? If peace, unity, and personal growth are your goals, why release a track attacking another artist at all? It directly contradicts everything he claims to embody. Meanwhile, let's be real, NBA YoungBoy isn't losing any sleep over Choa. YB's at the top of the game with billions of streams, millions in the bank, legal battles, family responsibilities, and major music projects. The "I'm trying to wake you up and save you" angle reads less like genuine concern and more like a calculated bid to get YB's attention and reinsert himself into relevancy. It's notice me energy wrapped in spiritual brand. Dissing a heavyweight guarantees views, streams, and chatter across social media. Publicity money can't buy. Choa's team knows this. So even with the conscious, spiritual packaging, the underlying motivation is still a clout-driven strategy. Attack a bigger name to get noticed. As for how YB might respond, history suggests he could completely ignore it. He's at a stage in his career where engaging with every mention of his name isn't necessary. From his perspective, Choa might just be beneath his radar, a distraction he doesn't need to entertain. YB's priorities lie with his music, his empire, legal matters, and his family. No cap. Chasing a response from YB might not even register for him. He's operating on a different level. If YoungBoy does decide to address NLE Choppa, don't expect any conscious rapper, vibes, or spiritual messaging. It'll be raw, unfiltered street energy. Threats, aggression, murder references, the type of intensity that made him legendary. No cap. When YB feels disrespected, he doesn't sugarcoat it, he hits hard. Sometimes he handles things subtly. Instagram captions, cryptic freestyles, or sly bars in his next release can communicate displeasure without ever saying someone's name directly. It's enough for fans to catch the message while keeping him above petty arguments. And speaking of fans, YB's following is relentless. They've already flooded Choa's comments since KO dropped. Letting his supporters do the talking can be just as effective, if not more, than a direct response. Honestly, a full-blown diss track might not even happen. YB's priorities have shifted: career moves, legal matters, family, and building his empire outweigh responding to every slight. Instead, expect subtle subliminals in upcoming tracks. References only the aware will connect to Choa, letting YB assert dominance without engaging directly. Not replying openly can sometimes sting harder than any diss. It's a message that says, "You're not important enough to even warrant my attention." That kind of disregard cuts deeper than bars ever could. The bigger picture? NBA YoungBoy embodies raw, unapologetic street rap. He's authentic, he's dark, and he's violent when the situation calls for it. But he's also strategic, ignoring the noise while letting his legacy speak for itself. That's power in motion. NBA YoungBoy's music is a raw mirror reflecting life in some of America's toughest neighborhoods. Pain, struggle, survival, real experiences millions relate to. No cap. Meanwhile, NLE Choppa is pushing the conscious rap lane, trying to infuse positivity, healing, and reflection into hip-hop. He's preaching balance, encouraging uplifting messages over violence and materialism. Both approaches have their place, homie. Hip-hop thrives on authenticity, which is why artists like YB are vital. They tell the unfiltered truth about life in the streets. At the same time, conscious voices like Choa are necessary to offer alternative perspectives, guiding the culture toward growth and awareness. The issue arises when either side acts like theirs is the only path. By attacking YB for his content, Choa risks dismissing the realities YB is documenting, real stories from real communities. Hip-hop is big enough for multiple lanes to coexist, fam. So, what's the move here? Is Choa genuinely trying to elevate the culture? Or is this just a clout grab, leveraging YB's name for attention? And how should YB handle it? Go full demon mode, or let it slide completely? Then there's the conscious diss angle. Could this be the future of rap beefs? Or is it inherently contradictory to Choa's own message of peace and positivity? One thing is certain. This beef has everyone talking, and we'll be right here breaking down every twist. If YB responds, if Choa shifts tactics again, you'll get the full analysis, gang. No cap.